Okay, let's talk about your hyperbola and exponential function. So your hyperbola is in the form of y is equals to a over x minus p plus q. And your exponential function is in the form of y is equals to a multiplied by b x minus p plus q. Okay, let's talk a bit about what's happening here. So your p and your q indicate what we call your asymptotes. So now when you talk about asymptote, we talk about the line that your graph gets closer to but does not reach. So your line, your graph will get closer to that line, but it will not reach, or it will not touch that line. So think of asymptote as a boundary that your graph approaches but does not touch. So this p here, we say that is your vertical asymptote, and q, that is your horizontal asymptote. So if you think about it, this is for y, and this is for y, and this is for x. So let's say we have your graph. If this is your graph, p, let's say x equals to p, so p will be a vertical asymptote, which indicates your x. So these are your x values. So that means if let's say x is equals to 3, p would be here. This would be your p. And if y is equals to 4, this would be your asymptote. So basically those are your asymptotes. But we'll look at that with values. Before we get to that, also parabola also has a shape, just like we saw with the linear parabola. Hyperbola also has a shape. So when a, for your hyperbola, when your a is greater than 0 and when your a is less than 0, so when your a is greater than 0, this is what you can look out for. So when your a is greater than 0, just know that your functions or your graph will be in this quadrant. And if your a is less than 0, then your functions will be in this quadrant. So you can memorize it this way. If your a is greater than 0, if your a is bigger than 0, then your graphs will be in the first quadrant and the third quadrant. But if your functions are less than 0, then your graphs will be in the second quadrant and the fourth quadrant. So greater than 0, 1, 3. Less than 0, 2, 4. So you can see that. So this is one way you can check. If let's say you are drawing your graphs or you are sketching them, you can check. Or if my a is bigger than 0, then I know I'm expecting my graphs to be in the first and third quadrant. But if they are less than 0, I'm expecting them to be in the second and fourth quadrant. Okay, let's talk about the shape of the exponential. So the shape of the exponential, what indicates your shape here is not actually your b value, but it's your, it's not your a value, but it's your b value, the one attached to the x minus p. So if your b is greater than 1, meaning bigger than 1, then your graph will have this shape. So this will be your shape of your graph. But if your b is between 1 and 0, then this would be the shape of your graph. This will be the shape of your graph. So if the value of b is greater than 1, so meaning 2, 3, 4 going that way, then this will be the shape of your graph. But if it's between 0 and 1, which means your 0, 5, your half, 1 over 4, 1 over 3, all those, then it will be in this way. Okay, another thing is also exponential graph. There's no axis of symmetry, so there's no place where I can cut this graph to get the same thing. So it's the same as like a straight line. There's no axis of symmetry for an exponential function. But also here, as you mentioned, there's an asymptote. So, but unlike hyperbola, the exponential function only has one asymptote, which on the graph here is indicated by this letter Q. So it only has your horizontal asymptote. So it does not have a vertical asymptote, it has your horizontal asymptote, which is y. So the value of my the equation of my asymptote is y is equals to q. So q can be any value, but your equation of asymptote is y is equals to q. So let's say my y is equals to -1. Then if I have a graph like this, then I know at -1 I'm gonna have this -1. Then I know that no matter what happens, this graph is gonna move this way. So I know it's gonna come close to -1, but it's not gonna touch -1 up until it reaches -infinity. It's gonna keep on moving like that, but it's not gonna touch -1. It's gonna come close to it, but it's not gonna touch it. So that's how it moves. So now another thing is that it can change. By what it can change, what I mean my asymptote can change. So it can come here, it can become 1, and then my exponential graph can be here. But you see, this is only vertical, so it's only limited horizontally. It's only limited horizontally because my asymptote is only horizontal, so it's only limited horizontally. And here you don't have to worry about the sign. So the sign that you see with the q is the sign that you take. If it's positive q, you take it as positive q. If it's negative q, you take it as -2. That is the value of your asymptote. Y is equals to that value. So if they ask you write the equation of the asymptote, you just say y is equals to that asymptote. So that is for your exponential. Now we have domain and range for the exponential. So when you talk about domain and range for the exponential, as we mentioned, in terms of domain, it's not limited because we only mentioned that it has a horizontal asymptote. So which means it's not restricted in terms of x. So it can, if you look at this, since it's only going to be restricted here horizontally, it means it can go anywhere. Meaning again, it won't be able to cross downwards because of this. It won't be able to cross this line because of this restriction, but you can still go to the positive infinity on your x for the x-axis, and you can still go to -infinity for your x values. While it can't do that for the y values because of the asymptote, but you can still do that for the x. So that means in terms of my domain for an exponential function is just x element of real numbers, x element of all the real numbers, because x is going to be all the real numbers. Now the only difference is my range. My range differs depending on my asymptote. So here, let's say my asymptote is 1, it doesn't touch 1. So then I can write it in different. I can say, oh, this is where y is greater than 1. You can see here I'm not putting y is greater or equals to, because remember why? Because my graph does not touch my domain, so it's not equal to 1. It's greater than 1. So I'm say putting as y greater than 1. Why? Because it does not touch 1. Or another way I can write it is y element of 1 to positive infinity. And you can also see I'm doing a round bracket to show that 1 is not included. So that 1 is an asymptote, so it's not included in that.